There is a specific, hollow frequency that fills the room the moment you finally stop moving. The tasks are finished. The notifications have ceased. The external demands of the day have technically resolved. By all metrics, you are safe to disengage. You position your body in a posture of rest, expecting the physiology to follow the geometry. But it does not. Instead of deceleration, you experience a sudden, jagged spike in internal volume. Without the anesthesia of constant movement, the background noise of your own nervous system becomes deafening. It manifests not as a thought, but as a physical vibration in the center of the chest. A tightness that suggests you have forgotten something critical, or that a threat is approaching from the periphery. The muscles do not soften, they brace. You are unconsciously holding yourself up against gravity, even when fully supported by furniture. You find yourself reaching for a device, not because you need information, but because the silence has become texturally abrasive. You need a microdose of input to dampen the hum of existence. You scroll without reading, you watch without seeing. You are physically static, yet metabolically sprinting. There is a distinct inability to transition from on to off. You only possess on and standby. In standby, the engine is still revving, consuming fuel, generating heat, waiting for the clutch to release so it can tear forward again. The stillness is not a restorative state, it is a waiting room, and in this waiting room, the lack of immediate urgency does not register as peace. It registers as a void that must be filled before something else fills it for you. You are exhausted, yet the idea of closing your eyes feels reckless. Something inside you is keeping count, and the count is not zero. To the external world, this constant low-level vibration looks like high-functioning competence. It is often mistaken for ambition. Colleagues and peers observe the output, the rapid responses, the completed projects, the seemingly endless capacity for logistical management, and they label it discipline. They ask you how you manage to stay on top of everything, assuming that your pace is a conscious choice, a strategic decision to maximize productivity. They view your behavior through the lens of achievement, not regulation. When you are physically present in social settings but visibly checking for exit routes or scrolling through emails, they interpret it as distraction or arrogance. They assume you value your obligations more than their company. They will offer well-meaning prescriptions. You work too hard, or you need to learn to let go. These statements act as irritants rather than balms. They presuppose that letting go is a menu option you are simply refusing to select. They view relaxation as a passive state that anyone can enter if they simply cease activity. They do not understand that for you, relaxing requires a massive expenditure of inhibitory energy. To sit still requires you to fight your own nervous system. Therefore, what looks like leisure to them feels like containment to you. They mistake the inability to brake for the desire to speed. They see a high-performance engine. They do not see that the braking system has been severed. You are not running toward a destination. You are maintaining velocity because deceleration feels dangerous. You accept their praise for your drive because it is easier than explaining that you are not driving the car is driving you. But this misalignment creates a profound isolation. You are being publicly rewarded for a physiological malfunction. They are applauding your endurance, unaware that the fuel you are burning is not renewable energy, but the structural integrity of your own hull. This state of perpetual standby begins to act as a corrosive agent within the somatic framework. It is not an acute injury that heals. It is a slow, methodical erosion of your baseline vitality. You begin to notice that sleep no longer functions as a reset button. You can remain unconscious for 8 hours, yet you wake with the specific, dense heaviness of someone who has been carrying a load all night. This is because, on a neurological level, you were. Even in sleep, the sentinel parts of your brain remained online, filtering the environment for changes in temperature, sound, or atmosphere. The cost becomes visible in your sensory processing. the threshold for irritation lowers dramatically. Sounds that were once neutral, a chewing noise, a repetitive tapping, a slightly too loud voice, now register as physical aggressions. Your nervous system has lost its elastic buffer. It can no longer absorb the minor friction of reality. It simply inflames on contact. This is the phenomenon of allostatic load, the cumulative wear and tear on the body caused by chronic overactivation of regulatory systems. You find yourself rationing energy like a scarcity economy. Social interactions are calculated not by enjoyment, but by cost per hour. You begin to avoid unstructured time because the effort required to structure it yourself is too high. You drift exclusively into reactive modes because reacting uses a different, cheaper fuel source than initiating. You are surviving on adrenaline fumes because the deeper wells of restorative energy have been capped off. Gradually, the texture of your life flattens. The highs are truncated because you don't have the energy to sustain joy, and the lows are numbed because you don't have the capacity to process grief. You exist in a narrow band of functioning. You are not technically depressed, you are metabolically bankrupt. You feel brittle, as if a single unexpected event, a flat tire, a lost key, could shatter the entire apparatus. But this depletion is not the result of failing to manage your time. It is not the result of a chaotic schedule or a lack of vitamins. It is the calculated daily metabolic expense of a system that has identified rest as a high-risk vulnerability. You are tired because your body is paying a ransom. To understand why you cannot power down, we must correct a fundamental misconception about the architecture of the human nervous system. We tend to view stress as a reaction to a negative event, and relaxation as the natural baseline that returns when the event ceases. This is neurologically incorrect. The mammalian nervous system does not default to calm, it defaults to vigilance. Calm is not the absence of activity, it is a highly active, constructed physiological state. It requires the specific identification of safety signals to tell the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, to stand down. In a regulated system, when the environment becomes quiet, the prefrontal cortex assesses the context, confirms the absence of threat, and sends an inhibitory signal, a chemical brake, to the lower brain regions. This allows the sympathetic nervous system to recede and the parasympathetic system to engage. But in your physiology, this braking mechanism has been overwritten. Your brain has developed a maladaptive association where stillness is no longer categorized as safety. Instead, it is categorized as ambiguity. To a survival-based nervous system, ambiguity is often more dangerous than a visible threat. A problem you can see is a variable you can manage. A silence you cannot decipher is a predator waiting to strike. Consequently, when you attempt to relax, you are stripping away the very noise that makes you feel oriented. The constant activity, the scrolling, the logistical planning, these serve a critical neurological function. They provide a steady stream of data. They give the predictive machinery of your brain something to process. When you stop, that data stream acts like a severed feed. Your brain, deprived of input, experiences a prediction error. Your internal model predicts danger because that is its baseline setting, but the external world offers only quiet. To resolve this dissonance, your body generates the danger internally. It manufactures urgency, anxiety, or guilt to justify the high levels of cortisol already present in your blood. You are not addicted to productivity, you are intolerant of the void. The mechanism is performing exactly as it was trained. It is protecting you from the perceived lethality of being unaware. But if this mechanism is designed to ensure your survival, why does the safety it provides feel indistinguishable from a slow, grinding panic? We must immediately strip away the labels you have applied to yourself. You are likely convinced that you are obsessive, neurotic, or simply unable to chill. You may carry a secret belief that you are fundamentally broken because you cannot perform the basic biological function of rest. This is not a defect of personality. It is a marvel of adaptation. What you are experiencing is not an inability to relax. It is a refusal to be vulnerable. At some specific point in your developmental history, your nervous system learned a definitive lesson. that safety is not a right you are granted, but a condition you must actively maintain. Perhaps you navigated a chaotic home where the emotional weather was unpredictable. Perhaps you survived an environment where stillness was interpreted as laziness, or where to be unnoticed was to be safe. In those contexts, vigilance was not a symptom of anxiety. It was the prerequisite for survival. Your body learned that to be off guard was to be exposed. Therefore, it hardwired a protocol: keep moving to stay alive. The productivity you display is actually a sophisticated form of active camouflage. By remaining in motion, you present a moving target. By controlling every variable, you attempt to preempt surprise. The brain does not care if you are happy, it cares if you are safe. You are not a workaholic chasing success. You are a sentry who has been standing at your post for so long that you have forgotten the war is over. The external threat has vanished, yet you remain in full tactical gear, scanning the horizon. You are effectively a wartime conscript, attempting to navigate a peacetime economy, confused by why the silence feels less like freedom and more like an imminent ambush. Once you understand that your nervous system is operating on a wartime protocol, you begin to see the fractal nature of this mechanism across every dimension of your life. This is not isolated to your professional career or your task list. It has infiltrated the way you process pleasure, intimacy, and time itself. Consider how you engage with entertainment. You likely find it difficult to watch a film without a secondary device in your hand. This is not merely an attention span deficit, it is an unconscious strategy to dilute emotional intensity. To watch a narrative unfold requires you to surrender control to the storyteller, to sit in the tension of the unknown. Your system rejects this surrender, so you split your attention. You check facts, you scroll feeds, you maintain a tether to the real world. This dampens the immersion. It ensures you remain an observer rather than a participant, keeping the emotional volume at a manageable, regulated hum. This pattern metastasizes into your social dynamics. In relationships, you are likely the stable one, the planner, or the fixer. When a friend or partner presents an emotional struggle, you do not simply listen, you immediately scan for solutions. You offer logistical advice, strategic framing, or actionable steps. You believe you are being helpful, but functionally, you are attempting to neutralize the chaos. High emotion in others registers as environmental instability to your nervous system. By solving their problem, you are not just aiding them, you are frantically trying to restore the emotional thermostat of the room to a safe, neutral setting. You cannot rest until the people around you are regulated, which means your peace is permanently held hostage by the states of others. Observe your domestic environment. Your home is not a sanctuary, it is a series of logistical loops waiting to be closed. When you walk into a room, you do not see furniture, you see inventory. You see the cup that needs to be moved, the pillow that needs to be straightened, the mail that needs to be sorted. You likely experience a compulsion to reset the house before you can allow yourself to sit. You tell yourself, I will relax once the space is clean. But the space is entropy. It is never truly clean. By the time you have established the perfect conditions for rest, you have exhausted the energy required to enjoy it. You are the custodian of a museum in which you are not allowed to be a visitor. Even your attempts at self-care have been colonized by this efficiency mindset. You do not go for a walk to wander. You go for a walk to hit a step count or to listen to an educational podcast. You do not read to get lost. You read to learn. You have monetized your downtime. You treat recovery as a metric to be optimized. You track your sleep stages, your heart rate variability, your hydration levels. You are trying to win at relaxation. You have turned the act of letting go into yet another high-performance project with data points and success criteria. This creates a pervasive sense of time anxiety. Unstructured time feels like a leak in the hull. If you are not producing something, evidence of your existence, you feel you are disappearing. A Sunday afternoon with nothing scheduled does not feel like freedom. It feels like a waiting room for Monday. You fill the gap with micro-productivity, organizing digital files, planning the week, researching purchases, anything to avoid the sensation of the engine idling. The pattern is total. It is a closed loop. Whether you are working, loving, cleaning, or sleeping, the underlying directive remains unchanged. Monitor, manage, mitigate. You are applying a survival strategy designed for a predator-filled jungle to a quiet Tuesday evening in a safe home. And because the strategy works, because you are successful, organized, and reliable, you have never been forced to abandon it. You are trapped in the prison of your own competence. You are paying a specific, quantifiable tax for this level of control. It is not an abstract concept. It is a physiological transaction occurring in real time. Every time you override the impulse to rest, every time you suppress the vibration in your chest to answer one more email, you are borrowing energy from your future self. You are effectively taking out a high-interest loan on your own vitality to pay for the illusion of present-tense security. The cost is not merely fatigue. The cost is the gradual, systemic hardening of your internal landscape. When the nervous system is locked in a sympathetic dominant state, fight or flight, it deprioritizes long-term projects in favor of immediate defense. What are the body's long-term projects? Digestion, immune system repair, cellular regeneration, libido. Creativity, play. These are biologically expensive luxuries that a wartime economy cannot support. Your body shuts down these non-essential departments to divert all resources to the perimeter walls. Over years, this results in a hollowing out of the human experience. You become incredibly efficient at tasks, but incredibly inefficient at feeling. You lose the ability to resonate. You can hear the words a loved one speaks, but you cannot feel the frequency of their emotion because your senses are tuned to detect threats, not nuance. You become a master of logistics, but a stranger to intimacy. You can organize a life, but you cannot inhabit it. This strategy also initiates a subtle form of temporal distortion. Because your brain is constantly scanning for the next thing, it never fully encodes the current thing. You live in a permanent state of nexting. You look back on years of high achievement and realize they are a blur, a grey smear of executed tasks and avoided disasters. You were there, but you were not present. You survived the timeline, but you did not experience the time. You have built a fortress that is impenetrable to chaos. It is safe, it is orderly, it is optimized. But you have forgotten the fundamental law of fortifications. The walls that keep the danger out also keep the nourishment out. You are safe from the unpredictable, but you are also safe from the spontaneous, the joyous, and the serendipitous. You have traded the vulnerability of being alive for the durability of being a machine. And now, for the first time, you are beginning to feel the gears grinding against each other. You are likely waiting for the solution. You are scanning this text for the tactical protocol, the 3 steps to retrain the vagus nerve, the specific breathing technique that will force the gears to uncouple. But to offer you a strategy would be to feed the very pathology that imprisons you. You would simply turn healing into your next high-stakes project. You would attempt to relax with the same weaponized efficiency you use to work. You would try to win at doing nothing. The exit is not found in a new doing. It is found in a terrifying noticing. The next time the silence fills the room and your hand instinctively reaches for a distraction, pause. Do not force the relaxation. Do not fight the tension. Simply witness the panic that rises when the distraction is denied. Feel the specific texture of the vibration in your chest. That vibration is not an enemy. It is a sentry reporting for duty. It is a part of you that loves you enough to keep you awake when it believes you are in danger. For years you have been numbing this signal with activity. Now you must simply exist alongside it. This is not a quick fix. It is a slow, biological negotiation between your history and your present reality. The question is not, how do I learn to relax? That is a logistical question for a manager. The true inquiry is far heavier, and it is one you may not be ready to answer. If you were to finally lay down the shield, if you were to allow the perimeter to be breached and the noise to truly stop, who would be left standing in the silence? The hum is still there. It is waiting for you to stop running.